Hey guys, it's me Lakeisha, your favorite mindset coach, and I am so excited to be here with you right now. This is the Healing Your Inner Child Masterclass. Thank you so much for being here, whether you're live or whether you're watching the replay. I love the commitment not only to showing up, ready to do the work, but the commitment that you are making to yourself and your inner child. And your inner child thanks you, and I thank you. So make sure you have a pen and paper handy because I am going to be dropping some major truth bombs that you need to hear. So without further ado, guys, let's get ready. So oddly enough, I pull oracle cards, and the card that I pulled today was called Unbound, and it was really all about unbounding your connection, your emotional, energetic connection with the past and with the old stories. So that's what I just want to take a second to do, right? So I want you to take a deep breath and close your eyes and just center yourself. And I want you to understand that you are here to release any connection, any idea, any patterns, any contracts that you have made with the old limiting beliefs. And understand that you are choosing today to let those things go. You are choosing to release them. You are choosing to choose a new empowering belief. You will take the lessons, you will take the knowledge, and you will take your gifts from the past, and you release any and everything that no longer serves where you are right now and where you are trying to go. And you're opening yourself up right now to hear my voice, to hear the message that I am downloading from God, from the angels, from the universe, so that it can ring true to your heart and you can release the past. Now just take a deep breath and hold for 3 seconds and release. And one more deep breath. Hold for 3 seconds and release. Whew. Okay. I've been doing a lot of meditation, guys, lately, because the more I heal and the more work I do, the more I help my clients do, the more things naturally just flow up that I'm like, oh, okay, I feel a little triggered. I feel that in my body. Let me release that, let me shake that up. Let me work through that. So actually, I will say that for the past few weeks, I have been super triggered. So if you're new with me and you're unfamiliar with my story, you will know that my father left my mom when I was a baby, and my mom raised us by herself as a single parent, raising 4 children, working 2 jobs with the help of my grandma and my great-grandma. So it left me as a child with a lot of abandonment issues. And if you don't know by now, history repeats itself. So if you have not addressed something, if you have not gotten to the core, if you have not gotten to the root, if you have not figured out why something is happening, it is going to continuously happen. So think of it like this. Think of it just like a child, right, who's trying to get your attention. If you were a teacher in a classroom and you ask a question and a kid raises their hand and you don't answer the kid, right? The next time that you ask a question, that kid is going to be more vigorous, right? It's going to be more enthusiastic about getting your attention. And if you keep ignoring that kid and not calling on them, especially if no one else is raising their hand, that kid is going to start getting mad and is going to demand your attention. The same way with if you're on the phone or if you're talking to someone in front of you and a kid is sitting next to you and they're trying to get your attention and they're like, mommy, mommy, mommy. It's going to start out with, mom, excuse me. And then you're like, hold on. And then they're going to let a couple seconds go by, and it's going to get with the tapping. Then it's going to get with the shoving of your clothes. They're going to go, mommy, mommy, and it's going to get louder, and then they're going to keep doing things to get your attention. And that's what your emotional body is doing within, right? That's what your inner child is doing in right now. Your inner child is trying to get your fucking attention because it needs you to heal these wounds. It needs you to clean up this, identity crisis that it's having within, right? Because as a kid, we didn't have the tools. As a kid, we didn't know how to express ourselves. We didn't understand logic, right? We just knew how we felt. So the issue with adults right now and why healing sometimes may feel difficult is because you don't necessarily know how to go about it, because you're so focused on, that doesn't make sense, that can't be true, that can't be, what's really happening. You're so in defensive mode, right? You're in like this mode of just like protecting yourself, right? Which totally makes sense, because like our brain is totally fucking wired to protect us, to keep us safe. So first things first that we need to figure out is we need to figure out the root of it all, right? We need to get to the cause of what's happening. So without like jumping into too much science, this is what we know to be factual. Your subconscious mind is wide open from the ages of 0 to 7 years old. That means that you're literally just like taking on everything like a sponge, right? So whatever you see, whatever you hear, whatever you experience, right? You're downloading that and you're programming it to mean that it's true. So for example, for me, I believed that there was something wrong with me, and that's when my father left. So I developed this belief that I wasn't good enough, right? That there was nothing special about me, that I wasn't important, that I didn't matter, and that I was gonna get abandoned, right? If I didn't like show up, if I didn't like make people happy, if I didn't make people like me, I would be abandoned. So naturally, as I got older, I became a people pleaser, right? I necessarily didn't always speak up and speak my mind and tell people when they did things that hurt my feelings, or when they were doing something that I didn't like, or even just like, if I didn't want to like go to that restaurant, like I would just be quiet. Like I would just be like, oh, whatever, like whatever everyone else wants to do, right? Like I was real just like mellow and just like playing the fence and really just like seeking emotional acceptance from other people, because I didn't feel like I got that as a kid. So my brain is trying to protect me from being abandoned, right? So even when people do really shitty things to me, I would allow them to come back into my life, right? I stayed in relationships that I shouldn't have stayed in. I even had friendships that I shouldn't have stayed in. And I stayed in those situations because the idea of me being alone was so terrifying. It was so crippling. It was so debilitating to me. And it all stemmed from when I was a kid. So in order for me to combat that, in order for me to deal with that, in order for me to grow up now and really just, get down to the bottom of where the abandonment stems from, I need to analyze where it all began, right? So like this, for example, right? Because everything is literally, our brain is just firing off neurotransmitters that literally just link experiences together. So for example, if you saw your friend get attacked by a dog, right? If you were a kid, let's say you were like 5 years old, you saw your best friend get mauled by a dog, right? You were going to grow up and you were not going to like dogs. You were going to hold this belief that dogs attack people, that they are going to like bite your face off, they're going to bite your finger, whatever, right? You're going to have this belief about dogs, that even if you see a dog, let's say it was a pit bull that did it, right? Even if now you see a German Shepherd, if you see a poodle, if you see a terrier, if you see a chihuahua, you're still going to associate dogs with being vicious creatures, because that is the story that came into your conscious. That is the experience that you had as a child. So whenever you see a dog, you're literally gonna get fired back into that emotion. You're gonna get back into that state. Or let's even, just take it down a notch, right? Let's say you ate a food, right? Let's say you ate, you ate like an orange, right? Or you ate steak for the first time and you got sick and you were like venomly sick, right? Like you were just like vomiting uncontrollably, you had gas, you were just like shitting like it was nobody's business, right? If that was happening to you, then you would develop the belief that like, oranges are bad or steak is bad for you. You wouldn't eat it. So anytime you would see steak, your mouth is gonna water, right? Your stomach is gonna start turning. You're gonna flash back and you're gonna step back into that exact moment of what happened when you were a kid. And that's all that ever happens. So when we're constantly triggered in our lives, we're stepping back into that inner child and we're remembering exactly how it made us feel. And so often now as adults, we can't figure out where it began. So let's fucking figure it out now, right? Let's actively take the steps to acknowledge where it all started. So, for example, and whether you're watching this live or whether you're watching the replay, let me know if you have any questions. Post them in the comments below, whatever. I will definitely come back. I will answer them because we're going to be doing some really, really deep shit, right? So let's get to it. So, right, your defense mechanism, everyone has their own. So a defense mechanism can look like, you get sick, right? You get headaches or you get stomach aches, or it can be you gaining weight, right? It could be you overly obsessively like eating things, or it could be you like being bulimic and you not gaining, like not eating. It could totally be like a lack of motivation. You can turn into like that rebellious kid. You can turn into an overachiever, right? That person, right? So whatever it is that we were lacking in our childhood, whatever, thing that we were seeking, it manifested, right, into something even grander in our life. So for example, right, my defense mechanism was me being sick. So I had this belief that I was going to be abandoned, right? Because my dad wasn't there. My mom has four kids, she's working 2 jobs. I kind of need attention. I kind of needed, and this is my kid brain, right? This is my kid brain just making assumptions, right? This is my kid brain just doing the best that it can to get our needs met. So I remember when I was doing this work and I was meditating and I was going back to the beginning and I was trying to figure out, put all the puzzle pieces back together and make it make sense. Because I suffered from really bad leg pains and really bad cramps. And I wanted to figure out where it all stemmed from, because I didn't want to have the pain anymore and I wanted to clean that up. So I remembered when I was a kid, right? So, you can close your eyes and you can go back and you can just say, whatever need that is, right? If you're feeling not good enough, if you're overeating, if you're undereating, if, you're rebellious, you're just not feeling like you want to bite yourself, right? Close your eyes and think back to the earliest memory that you have, right? And it may take a couple seconds. And just go back, and I want you guys to watch this video a couple times, because you're gonna need to really go back and go through the exercises and pause it and all that stuff, right? So when I did the exercise, I went back and I remembered to my needs being met. I remember getting sick when I was younger. I think I had the flu, or could have been an ear infection. I'm not sure which time was first. And I remember getting sick and my mom having to take off work and my grandma coming over and everyone taking care of me. And it was fucking amazing, right? And I remember it, literally, like vividly remember it. It was like Valentine's Day in like the 4th grade. And I remember like my friends calling and I was getting so much attention, right? I was getting so much love and it felt really good. Although I did feel like crap and I was actually really sick, I do remember, I think it was the 4th grade, maybe it was the 3rd grade, whatever. Anyway, so I do remember, feeling really loved and feeling like, everyone was there, right? That no one was gonna leave me. So then naturally, when I get better, and life goes back to normal, and my mom is busy, and my grandma goes back to her house, and everyone's going about their lives now, no one is naturally fixated on me, my wants, my needs, and my desires. So now my kid brain tells me that when my mom yells at me to cry, when my mom yells at me to say my stomach hurts, when my mom yells at me, tell her that my leg hurts, tell her that I have cramps, tell her something, right? Because if I tell her that I'm in pain, she isn't going to yell at me if I do something wrong. If I tell her that, if I tell my teacher that I didn't feel good last night because, my stomach hurts really badly, she isn't going to make that big of a deal that I didn't do my homework, right? So this is what my kid brain is learning. So maybe for you, it was different, right? For you, maybe, I remember one of my clients and I was coaching her and she had an issue with overeating and her weight and things like that. And her weight was fluctuating all the time. And she always felt like, once she got to her goal weight, it was going to make everything better. It was going to make her relationship with her family better and all this stuff. And what she kept realizing was that she would lose the weight, she still wouldn't feel better, it still didn't make any of her relationships better, and then she would just overeat because she was still sad and she would just put the weight back on. And it was a constant just like yo-yoing, fluctuating event because she never got to the root problem of why she started eating to begin with. And what turned out was that the reason why she started overeating was because she remembers that her parents used to argue all the time. And the only time her parents weren't arguing was when they were at the dinner table. So she associated food with family, with connection, right? So then now her kid brain is telling her, well, if I sit at the table long enough, if I sit here long enough and I eat more and I tell my mom that I'm hungry, or I tell my dad that I'm hungry, then we'll all come together and no one will be arguing. Right? Or even just like another example, right? It could be finances, right? Like, let's talk money, right? Maybe you're having financial issues, right? You could have grown up and experienced something where one parent was always gone. They were working 60, 80 hours a week, right? So then you took on the belief that like you weren't worthy of time, right? So now you have developed this idea that, you know, work takes the ones that you love away from you, right? So now as an adult, you avoid certain opportunities, right? You don't take on certain jobs. You have an issue, right? You have conflicts. You have an internal battle going on with money because you want more money, but you don't want to do the activities. You don't want to take the necessary steps to get more money because you believe it's going to take you away from your family. You don't want to miss being around for your kids. You don't want to miss, you know, dinner time and, you know, being that support system for your husband or your wife or whatever it is, right? So all of these things that we experienced up until the age of 7 are literally dictating our lives, right? So like I said before, history is repeating itself. So because we haven't addressed it, because we haven't acknowledged where the hurt, where the emotion, where the trauma stems from, right? It's just going to keep happening. And because our brain is wired to keep us safe, we have created this defense mechanism and we haven't quite let it go. So we're constantly going to keep overeating. We're going to overspend, or we're not going to, you know, stand in our power. We're not going to share our gifts with the world. We're going to be afraid of dogs. We're not going to eat the steak. We're, you know, all of these things. So we're going to protect ourselves. So even like with me, right? I have the belief that I'm going to be abandoned. So I'm going to people please, right? If you're upset with me, I'm going to apologize. Even if I didn't, well, this is the old me. The new me got her shit together. But anyway, right? I'm going to apologize, right? And I don't want to be in a situation where someone's going to walk out of my life. And just recently, I had a disagreement with a friend. And it was amazing because we've been friends for 10 years. And I will say that we are totally arguing over something petty. And I will not get into the details of that because it's totally stupid. But like in the beginning, like the first few days of us not talking to each other totally affected me. And I was like, oh my fucking God, like she's the girl that I talk to like first thing in the morning, like we said good morning text messages, like, oh my God, like how will I ever fucking survive without her being in my life, right? And I totally felt like there was a piece of me that was just like fucking ripped apart. And I literally was just like so triggered, and I was like, oh my God, people are always ghosting me. People are always fucking walking away. Like I told you guys, like my father left. I've had boyfriends who ghosted me and just like literally just like fucking disappeared off the face of the earth. Like it's crazy. Anyway, right? So I was literally just like going through the emotions of that. And then I had to stop myself and I had to say, okay, Lakeisha, so what does this mean? Do you really believe that you're going to be alone? No, of course not. Logically, of course I don't believe I'm going to be alone. I still have my mom, I still have my sisters, I still have tons of amazing fucking friends, be it online or in person. I have tons of family, right? I'm totally fucking surrounded. I'm totally fucking supported. But the inner child in me doesn't give a shit about who I have. The inner child can only experience this one person who means so much to me walking away, right? So I'm clinging to that, right? So there was a part of me that was just like, oh my God, that must mean that I'm a bad person. That must mean that like, I need to fix something. I need to go and I need to apologize and all this shit. And I really had to look within and tell myself a different story and tell myself that I am a good person, right? I had to praise myself. I had to love up on me. And I had to really just like tell my inner child to just like chill the fuck out, right? Like I fucking hold myself all the time, you guys, right? So like my shoulders are covered, but like I'll be like this, right? And I'll just be like, Lakeisha, I love you so much. You were safe, you were secure, you were supported, you were not alone. And we can get more into like, you know, that aspect of it totally later on. But like, I really just had to get into a place of me, you know, calming my inner child down and letting her know that she's going to be okay. So I really want you to just stop and take a moment and figure out what is happening in your life that is your defense mechanism. Right? Is it the, you know, abandon, you know, is it like the people pleasing thing? Is it that you're superly overly fucking aggressive, right? Like, did you grow up to become the bully? Is it that, you know, you have issues with your weight, you have issues with your appearance, you have issues with your body? Is it that, you have financial struggles, right? Is it that you constantly feel like you never have enough, you constantly are like overly shopping, or you're like a penny pincher, right? Where you're just not spending any money, you're not allowing yourself to have fun, right? Is it that you're getting sick? Like, what is it that you're doing, right? Is it a lack of motivation? Are you just like sitting on the couch, just like living in your mom's basement? Like, what's going on, right? Because growing up, as a kid, we feel so misunderstood. We don't know how to communicate. We can't find the words. So we cry, we throw temper tantrums, we sit in corners. We do whatever we can do in order to make ourselves feel safe. So as we grow up, we hold on to those same beliefs. So if you ever see someone and you're like, I've always been this way, I've always been this way, they're saying that because they literally always have been that way, right? And it's because they became that way as a defense mechanism. They were protecting themselves from something. And we may not always realize it. I didn't realize it until I got older, that I was associating, that I was combating like this victim mindset, this victimhood with my pain and things like that, until I realized that I was constantly fucking in pain, right? And I was constantly just like, as you get older, the attention starts to wear off, right? Hey, Jessica, how's it going, right? So for me, my defense mechanism was me being sick. And I realized as I got older, people didn't have the time to baby me the way that they did before. So now as an adult, as I'm like suffering from severe cramps, as I'm suffering from, this leg pain, this back pain and all this stuff, it was just like, okay, like, medication isn't doing enough. Like, what can I actually do? And I started doing the personal development work. I started doing the self-help work. And I realized that I needed to heal my inner child, and that I had associated me getting attention, me getting love, me getting affection with pain and with being sick. So of course I would fucking keep getting sick, right? Of course I would put myself in situations where things like that would happen, right? So it's like, the same thing with like the story I told you about my client. Okay, so Jessica says, hey girl, I was late because I had to pick up my daughter. No worries, love. So we're talking about defense mechanisms, right? So your brain is wired to keep you safe. So early in life, we develop these, these mechanisms, right? Like this protection for ourselves in order to keep us in a place of just feeling like we're okay, right? We're gonna be fine. Because as a kid, we don't know how to articulate what's happening, right? All we understand are our feelings. So we're trying to protect ourselves. So I was talking about how I had abandonment issues because my father left me. So I remember as a kid, I remember getting sick and having my mom take care of me, having my grandma take care of me, like getting back to school and have all of my friends just being like, oh my God, Lakeisha, are you okay? And just like my teachers just like patting me on the back, like, we're so happy that you're fine. And just like, I got leniency on homework and like all this stuff because I was really, really sick at the time. So my kid brain was just like, oh my God, okay, cool. So if I'm sick, then I won't be abandoned, then no one will leave me. So then naturally I manifested shit going wrong, right? I would always get sick. It would be summertime and I'd get like fucking terrible colds, right? I developed like chronic, like severe like PMS pain. I had excruciating leg pain where it was to the point where like the doctors couldn't figure out why I was like collapsing. I would fucking collapse all the time. And my mom would be there and my grandma would be there and all these people would just like appear and just like tell me that how much they love me, how much like they're never gonna leave me, they were always in my life, like all this stuff. And it felt really, 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 really good. And it wasn't until I got older and the fucking pain continued and I realized that, the cute shit that like the love and attention that I got when I was younger really wasn't going to be able to be there. People were off living their own lives, that I wasn't getting the validation that I needed no longer from this thing. So I really wanted to get down to the bottom of it. And like I was saying before, like, our brain is wired to keep us safe, right? So I developed that belief. So let's say, for example, right, if you're just like constantly complaining about your job, right? And you have a presentation come up and you're just like, oh, fucking shoot me in the face, right? This presentation, I just can't take it, right? Like, I wish that I could get out of it, right? Your brain is gonna be like, oh, okay, you don't wanna go? Cool. Let's give you a headache. Let's give you a migraine that is so blistering bad that you cannot get out of bed. And your brain is going to protect you. So whatever it is, whatever story it is that you were telling yourself, whatever event it is that is triggering you, your brain is going to protect you. Your brain is going to come up with some way, right? I remember always complaining about my job, complaining. I hated it, all this stuff, right? I didn't feel like I was a good manager. I didn't feel like I could lead. I didn't feel like I was being respected, all this stuff, right? I didn't feel like I was good at sales, yada, yada, yada. I got fired, right? I was complaining. I hated it, so I got fired, right? And I did something wrong that obviously led for me to get fired, right? So my brain did that, right? As a defense mechanism. Oh, we don't feel safe here? Oh, we're unhappy here? Okay, cool. So our brain is constantly doing things to avoid pain. So if we're telling ourselves that something is painful as a child, right? If we're actively saying, you know, mommy and daddy argue over money, we're gonna develop the belief that money makes people argue, that money is a bad thing. If we develop a belief that people with money are evil and they're greedy and they take advantage of people, right? And they're not helpful and they're not nice, then obviously you're never gonna wanna become that rich person, right? Because why would you wanna be an evil person, right? Your brain doesn't wanna sign up for that. Your brain doesn't wanna be evil. Your brain doesn't wanna be mean to people, right? So you're gonna avoid it. You're gonna self-sabotage, right? They always talk about how, like, you know, I think it's like 95% of people who win large sums of money in the lottery ultimately end up broke, right? They end up bankrupt. They end up right back where they started. And it's because they weren't prepared, right? They're dealing with the, I'm not enough. Oh my God, I didn't deserve this. All these things, right? All of these things are happening internally, so their brain is wired to protect them. So if we have this belief about money, if we have this belief about love, if we have this, you know, all of these beliefs that we have, then we're gonna protect ourselves, right? Or you may even look at it as self-sabotage, but I look at it as protection, right? Our brain is protecting us. So now we're staying away from this unfamiliar thing. So if growing up you saw your mom like cry, or you saw your parents like argue, right? Your parents got a divorce. It was very messy, right? They argued a lot, right? It became like this battle, right? So now when you think of love, you think that love hurts. You think that love, you know, is difficult. That one of my clients, her father cheated on her mom with one of her friends. So she developed this belief that just like men are dogs, and that you either just have to like fucking accept it, or you're gonna be alone, and that there is no good man that exists, right? So she would live her life either literally just secluding herself from people, and then she would let one person in, and they would like break her heart, right? Like the relationship would totally like end. It would be devastating, and she would feel like, you know, oh my God, her whole fucking world is falling apart, right? And her brain was just like, see, I told you, let's keep you away from love, right? So now she separates herself, right? So she avoids relationships. So even though there's someone who comes along that is a good guy, right? That totally wants to love her, that would want to marry her, that would want to do all these amazing things for her, she can't see it. She can't open herself up to it because her brain says that love hurts. Her brain says that, you know, love is gonna kill me, right? Because like that's how you felt, right? When the breakup happened, right? You feel like literally your heart was ripped into two, your body was ripped into two. You were crying hysterically, right? We've associated all of these emotions with this thing. So think about it like this, right? If I ask you to tell me about what you ate yesterday or a week ago for breakfast, right? If I asked you to tell me what you ate last Monday for breakfast, you may not even remember what you ate. But if I asked you to tell me about a terrible fucking meal that you had, you could give me so many details. You could literally tell me the exact meal, the exact restaurant, what time of day it was, all that stuff, right? Our brain remembers certain things. Our brain remembers the fucking trauma because it's trying to keep us safe. So if we're like, you know, the neurotransmitters, right? If we're linking things together, so if I have linked love to pain, then I'm gonna avoid love. Or I'm gonna attract a certain type of love that feels comfortable for me. So for me, right? I was attracting the guy who was gonna ghost me, right? I was attracting the friends who were just gonna fucking up and leave me, right? I was attracting that because it was familiar for me. It was like me finally finding like the love that I needed from my dad, right? So I would get into this relationship and it would be really good in the beginning. It would feel really good, right? And then, you know, my insecurities would flare up, right? And then they would totally become aware, right? Because people are fucking smart, right? I was manipulated. So, and this is a non-victim conversation. So, right? Because like we all have triggers, we all have shit, right? And people either choose to play on to your flaws and your insecurities, or they help uplift you, right? But obviously, like, I'm fucking dating men who, you know, have their own shit going on and want to be martyrs or whatever, right? So I was attracting men who were on the same vibrational wavelength. So they didn't even feel, so I was very clingy, right? So I'm a people pleaser, right? So I want to do things to like make you feel better because I don't want you to abandon me. So I remember my ex-boyfriend, he ghosted me, right? He totally disappeared for 6 months, popped back up with a baby, right? A whole new girlfriend, was living with her, whatever, right? Yada, yada, yada. So finally, we have a conversation about it, and he was just like, yo, I didn't even know how to tell you, right? I was so afraid of what you would do and how you would try to make it work, how you would try to make it better, how you would try to, like, you know, fix the situation instead of just being like, you know, fuck you, I'm gonna move on, right? And at first, like, that shit hurt to hear, right? Because it was just like, why do you think you're so important, you're so special, that I'm still gonna want you in my life after you just got somebody pregnant, right? And then when I started doing this work, I realized and was like, oh shit, because you don't want to be abandoned, you don't want to be left alone, right? So for me, it was about me really getting to the bottom and understanding that I was going to continuously attract people who were going to abandon me. I was going to continuously, you know, reject people and push people away because I would attract like pretty decent guys and I wouldn't be interested in them, right? So if you ever find it, you know, you see the movies, right? The girls are always going after the bad guys, right? But there's like that guy and she like friend zones him because she isn't attracted to him, right? Because we're attracted to what's familiar to us, right? So we're attracted to the guy who treats us like shit because that's what we saw our father do to our mom, right? We're attracted to those kind of things. So even with like weight, right? So let's talk about weight really quickly. If we have decided that, you know, weight makes the family come together, right? We have decided that, you know, my mom and dad didn't argue when we came together at the dinner table. Or if I'm overweight and I eat a lot of food, then I don't have to worry about someone coming into my life and breaking my heart, right? Because now I have this weight defense mechanism, right? Or if you ever notice, it's like people who like joke on themselves, right? Before other people can get a chance to, right? So it's the girl that's like, you know, oh my God, do you fucking see my love handles? Or like this flab on my arm? Ugh, it's so fucking annoying, right? And she like comments on it, right? And she's always talking about it, right? I remember I used to like make jokes with my friends and be like, oh, well, you know, I don't understand because I don't have a father, so I don't get anything that you're talking about. And I would make jokes about myself before other people could. And I would try to make myself feel comfortable in certain situations that I necessarily wasn't. Okay, so let me stop and read the comments. So Jessica says, yes, this was a game changer for me, how our brains are wired to protect us and keep us from getting out of our comfort zone. Exactly. So it's like, once we get to the bottom of what, you know, what was really triggering us and what was that emotional experience, that emotional trauma that we had as a kid, once we clean that up and tell a new story, we release it, right? And then it becomes quieter and quieter, right? As time goes on. So Jessica, if you have any questions or anything like that, or you just need some coaching, like talk to me. I got you, girl. Let's do this right now live. So when we feel like we're misunderstood, when we feel like we're not good enough, then we grow into a position where we're constantly seeking external validation. So, you know, you're that overachiever, right? You're the person who is, sorry, I had a phone call. You're jumping from one thing to the next, right? You're constantly going, right? Just like the AA batteries. So it's like from that place, right? You're seeking these external things for validation. And no matter how many accolades you get, no matter how many awards you get, how much outside praise you get, it's still not going to be enough because you don't feel good enough within, right? So everything that we are seeking in the outside realm, we need to start giving to ourselves. We need to start loving on ourselves. We need to start praising ourselves. We literally need to look in the mirror and just be like, Jessica, I love you. I fucking love you, right? I love and accept you exactly as you are. Because if we keep pointing out all of these things about ourselves that we don't like and expecting other people to love us and make it all better, when that love goes away, or when that person is angry with us and that person isn't talking to us right now, or that person has, passed away, or, moved on in their life, and we're all in different spaces, whatever, we're constantly gonna feel this void. I remember I used to say I always felt like that dented, can of peas, like in the grocery store. It's there, everyone sees it, but they keep just moving past it, right? And that was how I felt. And, it was about me realizing that I have flaws, I have things that, I wish was different about my childhood, and that we all do, right? And we have to make a decision that we are fucking powerful and that we get to tell a different story. So jumping back into science, they always talk about how our words are super powerful. So Jessica says, I'm nursing a broken arm, so I'm actively listening but unable to type so much. No worries, love. So it's like this, right? So science talks about water, right? So they tell a story about how the scientist, I can't remember his name, but it's totally freaking irrelevant. So he talks about how he took water from the same sink and he put them in 2 separate containers, and one of the containers, he spoke life into it, right? He told it was so beautiful, it was so amazing. He literally said nothing but positive words of affirmations. And then the other one, right? They both got the same sunlight, they both got the same, it came from the same place, everything, right? And then this one, he spoke really bad things into it, right? Oh my God, you're a bad person, you're horrible, all this stuff, right? Negative mantras into the water. And then he froze it. And after he froze it, he put them both under a microscope and realized that the water now had new neurological transmitters, right? The water is now different, literally just over speaking words. So it leads you to believe now that our thoughts and the way that we speak is actually what's dictating our body, right? And the way our wires are crossed. So if we're used to being chastised, right? If you were in a situation where you would do something wrong, your parent would be like, oh my God, what is wrong with you? Oh, you're so stupid. You can never get anything right. Why don't you understand that 5 + 5 is 5? I mean, 5 + 5 is 10, right? Like if you were constantly experiencing that as a child and you were told that you weren't good enough and that you weren't smart enough and what's wrong with you and all these things, you're gonna grow up and you're gonna constantly keep attracting situations that mirror that, right? History is gonna repeat itself. So you're gonna get to school and your teacher's gonna do it. Or, you're gonna manifest the position where you're at work and you feel like you can't get anything right. And it's gonna keep happening over and over and over until you really just get down to the bottom of it, until you figure out the root of the cause. And it's leaving you feeling confused, it's leaving you feeling, not good enough and all that stuff. And you're constantly trying to figure out what's that missing piece, what's that void, how to fill it. And sometimes the sickness feels like the cure, right? So you'll end up in relationships, you'll end up at a job, you'll end up in situations where it will hurt, right? It will trigger the past, but it's familiar to you, so you stay. So I remember in relationships, I would stay even though I knew that I deserved better, even though I knew that this wasn't the person for me, but it was just like, damn, it feels so bad to be alone. Do I really want to be alone? This person hurts my feelings, this person makes me cry, but there's some part of it that is attractive, right? There's some part that just makes me feel like, okay, like if I could get him to love me, then I would finally have the love of my father, right? So it was constantly that teeter-tottering thing that I was going through. So, and a lot of times with my clients too, when we have conversations, it really just boils down to that emotional child, right? Like that inner trauma that happened when you were a kid and you just trying to find someone else to fulfill that thing. And what you will realize is that the only person who can fulfill it is you. So what you now need to do is literally, I feel like I have like a shit ton of notes. I just want to make sure that I'm hitting all my notes. So what you now need to realize and accept is that like you are the one who gets to fix this, right? You get to tell the new story. You get to literally speak life into you. So I realized that with complaining, right? Because we find ourselves complaining all the time. We find people who complain all the time, right? And it's fucking annoying. So what happens is we realized that complaining, we realized that speaking about things that hurt our feelings, that we are going through, makes us feel better. So then we get into a place where we're constantly just complaining and we sound like a broken record, and it's the same thing over and over again. We've all had that friend who just like comes to you and she's like, oh my God, I hate my job. Oh my God, my boyfriend is so annoying, yada, yada, yada. And you're just like, girl, stop complaining about it. What are you gonna do? And I feel like that's the missing piece, right? That's the piece that we didn't learn, that no one was teaching us, right? We didn't get the idea that it wasn't about the fact that complaining is bad. It's about the fact that you need to be doing something, right? That you can't just live in a place of feeling like I'm not enough, I hate this job, I want to lose weight, whatever, but actually getting into a space of being in control, right? So what is your intention? What is your purpose behind your complaining? And I realized my purpose behind it all was that I really wanted to change. I just didn't know how. And that's what it really is, right? We don't know how to do it. We get so caught up in the how. Hi, Katie, hon, how are you? So it's like we don't know how to change, right? We don't know how to create new neurotransmitters. We don't know how to do these things. So we complain, we suffer in silence, or we suffer out loud. So we need to start making the unfamiliar familiar. So it's like this, if you decide that you want to run a marathon, right? The first time that you work out, the first time that you run, or you even just like go on a 30-minute walk, it's going to be uncomfortable. You're going to be sweating, you're going to get tired, you're going to be thirsty, you're going to be like, oh, I'm never fucking doing this again, right? It's going to be unfamiliar. And it doesn't become familiar until you keep doing it, right? It doesn't become familiar until maybe 30 days in, when you've actively been working out and jogging and running or whatever the hell it is, right? You know, even something as simple as like cooking, right? You know, you may not get how to make pasta, spaghetti the first try, but by the time you make it for the 30th time, you're gonna be better at it, right? It's gonna be familiar. That eventually you're gonna get to a point where you're not even thinking about it. Your brain is just on autopilot. Think about driving, right? When you're driving from your house or when you're driving to work, right? You don't even think about the route that you're taking. It's just familiar. You just do it. You don't even realize that time has gone by, that you have literally just arrived in your office parking lot, because it is autopilot, right? Your conscious mind already knows how to do it. So you just do it. So when you look at your life and you think about your experiences, understand that like, your subconscious mind has already set the stage. Your subconscious mind has told you how you feel, what you believe, how your life is going to play out. You have already developed these beliefs and understanding about how that's going to look. So it's your job, it's your responsibility now to anchor in those new things, to begin to praise yourself, to begin to love up on you. So I always teach my clients to do fucking mirror exercises. Literally, I sit down in the mirror with my shoulders back and I'm just like, Lakeisha, I love you. Lakeisha, I fucking love you. Even the things I don't like about myself, I tell myself that I love it, right? I love it, I love it, I love it, I love it, I love it. And I tell myself I'm proud of myself, right? And that's like my favorite one of all time, because, you know, we spend so much time looking for outside validation when we just need to be happy with us. So I tell myself the things that I wish that I heard from my father growing up. I tell myself the things that I wish I heard from my teachers. I tell myself the things, the wish that I heard from my mom, but emphasis on my father. So I tell myself, oh my God, Lakeisha, I am so happy that you are here. I am so happy that you were born. Lakeisha, I am so proud of you. I am so glad that you're my daughter. Lakeisha, I love you. Lakeisha, I'm so proud of you for graduating. Lakeisha, I'm so proud of you for starting your own business, right? So literally grab a fucking piece of paper, right? Or just like flow, right? Just like rant in the mirror and just be like, I'm proud of you for it, and tell yourself all the things that you wish you heard from other people. I tell myself the things that I wish I heard from my ex-boyfriends, that I wish I heard from all these people. And I tell it to myself as me, and I speak to my inner child. Literally, like, I'll grab a picture of me from when I was a kid, and I'll look at it, and I'll fucking start crying hysterically. Oh my God, my clients, they cry too. And it's like, it's one of those things where you're just like, oh, I feel so stupid, but it's so good, it's so therapeutic, it's so freaking helpful. Katie, let me know if you have any questions, because I know you kind of hopped on late. But just like let me know like what's going on and all that stuff, right? So if you have any questions. So, or if you need some coaching, because we can do some spot on coaching, because I blocked out a lot of time for this video. So I just anchor in all those things. I tell myself that I'm smart. I tell myself that I'm worthy. I tell myself that I'm talented. I tell myself that, I matter, that my voice needs to be heard, that it's okay to tell people how I feel. And from that place, I feel comfortable and I can relax. And my inner child isn't fucking throwing a temper tantrum all the time. So now when something happens, now when someone leaves my life, I may get triggered, but now I know how to handle it. And now I know that I'm never alone, right? That I'm never being abandoned. And when I teach my clients, right, like let's say we're talking about money, right? And we're talking about cleaning up their shitty money story, right? I tell them that money is, not good or bad. Money is just energy, right? You decide what money is. So if you grew up and you believe that making money was hard, or that people with money were evil, or that you had to work long fucking hours to make money, then that's the story that's going to play out for your life. If that's what you saw as a child, you're going to mirror that into adulthood. So it's up to you to tell yourself and find examples and find evidence in life that prove to you that money is a fucking good thing, that people who have money donate and help other people, right? I remember reading about Jaden Smith, right? Flint, Michigan in America, I don't know where you guys live, right? Flint, Michigan hasn't had clean water for over 5 years now, right? So not only did he donate tons of water because he has a water company, but he donated filters for you to put on your sink and for you to put on your bathtub and things like that, right? So these are good people in the world who are doing good things with their money, right? So if you start anchoring in that belief and you start telling yourself that people are making a fuck ton of money in seconds, right? Kylie Jenner can sell out her lip kits in under 24 hours and make $1 million, right? So if you're anchoring in these new stories, right? If you're telling yourself these new stories, then your beliefs are going to start to change. But it's about you actively telling the story. It's about you making the decision every single day. So first you need to identify what's really going on. Identify what's your defense mechanism. Identify what's causing you pain. Identify the root cause. Identify the symptom. Identify, where the pain is coming from, not just the symptoms. And then from that place, tell yourself the new story, right? Give yourself the cure. The cure is the new story. The cure is the new identity. The cure is you deciding that you get to have what you want, deciding that it gets to be different, right? That's what the meditation was about earlier, right? I'm choosing to see this differently. I am ready to accept the lessons that I needed to learn. I am ready to grow exponentially. I am ready to move forward. I am ready to have the things that I want, right? I'm willing to see my life differently. Literally, I anchor that in all the time. I'm willing to see this differently when I'm in a state of conflict, because when I can take the blinders off, right? And I'm not looking through things from the trauma of my childhood, and I'm really looking at things from a logical place of what I want and what I want to achieve and the lifestyle that I want to live, I can see it clearly. So I can put myself in a different perspective. So then now from that place, I'm stronger, I'm more aware, I'm more alert, I'm more clear about what it is that I want. So I know what to release, I know what to let go, and I know how to live. So I know now what beliefs to anchor in. So when you look in the mirror, when you look at that childhood picture of you, right? You know exactly what she needs to hear. You know what little Katie needs to hear. Jessica, you know what you need to hear. You know this, right? So even when it comes to weight, right? Because a lot of my clients deal with weight issues, right? It isn't just finances and, parents or abandonment or whatever, right? It's weight, right? We all want to lose weight and shit, right? So it's this, you just have to decide that with the weight, you were fucking worthy of love, right? I remember just at one point, okay, so Katie said I had to start telling myself a new story about my weight, which I've always struggled with. Exactly, right? So it's about you now being in a position of saying, I fucking love myself right now with the weight. I love my love handles. I love my thick thighs. I love my tummy. I love all of it, right? And from that place, knowing that where you are right now, you are worthy. You are worthy of love. You are worthy of the money. You are worthy of attention. You are worthy of your gifts. You are worthy of it all. You fucking matter. Whether you were 100 pounds or whether you were 500 pounds, you fucking matter in this world. So once you look at yourself and you acknowledge and you love and accept yourself exactly where you are, it becomes fucking easy to let go of the weight, because it was never about the weight, right? The weight came on because the weight was protecting you from something else. So look back at your life, right? Look back to when you started gaining weight. Look back to when, you first, when you fucking went to the doctor when you were a kid and they told you were overweight. What was happening in your childhood? What was going on? Why were you gaining the weight? What was happening, right? Because unless there is physically something wrong with you, and even then we can take it a step further and say that there isn't, there's fucking science to prove that, we could fucking think our way and heal our lives, right? So it's like, unless you were diagnosed with something that said you were destined to be morbidly obese, then, what the fuck is your excuse, right? Like, let's be real about it, right? That's some tough love shit, right? So even with myself, and when I look at my experience, I'm like, okay, cool. When I think about my dad, I'm like, oh, okay, so my father didn't have a father and my mother didn't have a father. So of course, history is fucking repeating itself. And this is why I ended up in my situation. This is why I ended up with the childhood that I had. And I can continuously point fingers at my father. I can be mad at my mother for not making a better decision. Or I can just say, Lakeisha, it stops with me. Lakeisha, the man that comes into your life, the person that comes into your life, they will be fucking incredible. They will love you. They will want to build a family with you. They will want to grow with you. They will want to get old with you. And that's the kind of thing that I now anchor in. So I'm no longer living in a state of victimhood, right? I'm no longer using my pain and my fear of abandonment to people please, right? I'm comfortable saying how I feel. I'm comfortable having a conversation with someone and saying, hey, you hurt me when? I can forgive you for it, but I need you to know, because I don't want to hold it in, right? I don't want to bottle it in. Think about like farts, right? Let's talk farts. I crack myself up. Anyway, so let's talk farts, right? If you had to fart and you held it in, that shit is going to bottle up in you so much that literally when it comes out, it's going to be explosive. Or even just like if you had to poop, right? I remember in the early days when I was dating this guy and I had to shit. And I was at his house and I was like, oh my God, ladies don't do that. Literally, it was hurting so bad that I vomited, right? And I don't mean to get like morbidly disgusting with you guys, but it was just like, when shit needs to be addressed, it needs to be addressed, right? When your emotions, when you were triggered, when something's happening, when you're experiencing something, it needs to be addressed. Okay? And the more you hold it in, the more you bottle it up. Think about it like a soda, right? If you shake up a soda and you cause enough commotion, right? That shit, once you open it, it's gonna fizzle to the top and it is literally going to shoot out. It's going to fucking explode. And that's what happens to us, right? We hold on to things for so long, right? We bottle it all up. We bottle it all up, right? And then we get into a place where we're fucking angry. We're resentful with people. We're upset with people. They're angry at us. We're angry with them and they don't even know why. And it's because, for whatever reason, you're afraid to tell them that they hurt you, right? You're afraid that they're gonna leave you. You're afraid that they're gonna get angry with you. You're afraid of confrontation, right? Maybe you saw your parents arguing a lot and that really affected you as a child. So you developed the belief that, you shouldn't tell people that they hurt you or whatever, right? Or maybe you were the fucking polar opposite. You saw your parents arguing all the time and you just developed the belief of just like, fuck people, right? People are terrible. People are horrible in this world. So I don't have friends and I, am not actively dating anyone and I just fucking sleep around, right? Like maybe that was the route that you took. But whatever route it is, you need to get to the cause, right? You need to get to the root of what is really going on and what led to this behavior, what led to this pattern, what led to this belief. And it all stems from our childhood. So when you're looking at your life right now and you're pointing out things that make you unhappy and you're pointing out things that you're struggling with, ask yourself, how is this similar to my childhood? And a lot of times we block it out, right? We don't want to dig up those memories, right? We don't want to relive that experience, right? But we fucking got to do it, right? We got to put on our big girl panties and we just got to man up and we have to do the work. We have to look at ourselves and we have to do the deep shit. We got to do the healing. And from that place, I can tell you that you will feel lighter. From that place, I can tell you that you will attract different people into your life. From that place, I can tell you you will manifest more money. You will have different experiences. You will live life on a fucking completely different scale because you're no longer struggling. It's no longer an internal battle. Because you have told yourself the story of bliss. You have told yourself the story of wholeness. You have told yourself the story of enoughness, right? So give me some hearts, give me some likes. Let me know if you're resonating with this. Let me know if you have any questions, if there's anything you need me to coach you on, and all that jazz. And like some STEM shit that I really want you to work on is literally just like acknowledging, right? When people hurt you, and try to get it out as quickly as possible, right? Of just being like, you know, not waiting 10 years, 15 years to be like, hey mom, you really pissed me off when you know, didn't throw me a sweet 16 and you threw one for my sister and that made me feel not good enough. It made me feel like you didn't love me, whatever, right? Like, let's fucking address shit right now, right? Let's get stuff off of our chest. So have that sheet of paper, right? And write out, I was hurt when you, whatever, and fill in the blank, right? Literally get down to the bottom of all of it, right? I had fucking grievances with my father that I needed to clear up. And I'm gonna tell you this little quick story and then I'll get into some questions. I went on a date with a guy and he asked me about the male role model in my life. And I was just like, fuck, I totally didn't have any. My mom was an only child. I didn't really have like, you know, male figures in my life, right? So I was just like, fuck, like, you know, I was really getting down on myself about it. And I was like, oh, you know, that's probably why I'm attracting like these men or whatever, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, cool. So you need to forgive your father. That's the moral of the story, Lakeisha. You need to forgive him, you know, hurt people, right? And you need to forgive him even though he wasn't sorry. And I wrote out all of these things, right? I wrote out the fact that, like, you know, I never went to a daddy-daughter dance, and, you know, a daughter's first love is supposed to be her father, and I never got to dance on his feet. How, you know, he didn't teach me how to drive a car. He didn't teach me about boys, you know, all of these things, right? I wrote out, you know, what happened in my life as a result of not having my father. And I fucking cried, you guys. I broke down about it. And it was a really difficult time, and it didn't happen in just one sitting. It was over the course of a few weeks, right? And literally every day I would grab the paper and I would just write out, like, you hurt me when, and you thinking like that you not being there was, you know, somehow to some degree supposed to protect me, whatever, right? And I fucking let it all out on the paper. And then I was like, I forgive you. And it felt good, right? I needed to forgive him because I needed to move on. I needed to feel whole. I needed to not feel like something was missing from my life. I needed to know that everything that I experienced was for a reason, right? And now I know when I look back on my life, when I look back on those experiences, I know that that needed to happen for me in order for me to be a kick-ass coach. Kaboom, right? So that I can have this masterclass with you. So from that place, I was just like, I forgive you. And I remember burning the paper and literally just like doing some cord cutting and me literally just like visualizing the connection, right? The emotional cord between us, that hurt between us being cut. And I made a video on Facebook and I talked about, you know, having to forgive people who never said sorry. And someone in my family saw the video and sent it to him and he messaged me. And before I moved to LA, we met up and we had lunch together. And I had never had a conversation with my father that lasted more than 5 minutes. My father lived a few blocks away from us, so I would see him sometimes, but we never had a relationship together, and it would kind of just be one of those like, oh hi, you know, awkward moments of just like hug, oh I'll see you later, whatever, to the point that like my father didn't even really know how to spell my name, right? So you know, and he apologized and all that stuff, and irregardless of whether or not he apologized and whether or not it was going to play out like that in my life, I got comfortable without him saying sorry. I got comfortable knowing that I was whole. I got comfortable knowing that nothing was missing from me. I got comfortable knowing that I was still worthy of love, that good men existed, and that I was worthy of being in a relationship with that good man. I no longer, you know, struggle with abandonment because I can remind myself, I can anchor in the idea that I'm okay, that I'm gonna be fine, right? So when you look at your experiences and you think about this healing process, I want you to know that it's not a one and done thing, right? That shit is still gonna come up, shit is still gonna rise to the surface. The more you grow, the more you desire, the more you want, the more you expand, shit is gonna rise. And it's all about you taking these steps, right? It's all about you doing these techniques. It's all about you, you know, cleaning up that story, you going back into the past, feeling those feelings, acknowledging them, allowing them to be heard, right? I told you, I hugged myself literally, and I'm just like, Lakeisha, it's okay, let it out. And I will just fucking cry, and I will, you know, And I will literally just like get into a space where I'm in the mirror and I'm just like, and it fucking hurt that this happened to me and this happened to me. And it's not about, and I realize it's not about being in victimhood, right? It's about me feeling like I've been bottling this shit up for so many years and I'm finally letting it out, right? It's like finally fucking turning on the faucet, right? The water is just gonna like blitz out, right? At first. And then it's just gonna calm down and it's gonna slow down and then it's gonna be okay. And when you haven't turned on the water for a while, it's gonna be brown. And that's what the pain is, right? It's gonna be brown for a little bit and then it's gonna clear up and it's gonna turn white. It's gonna turn clear again, right? It's gonna be clean fucking water. So it's about you not being afraid of feeling your emotions and surrendering to what happened to you and fucking acknowledging it, right? Remember the fart, right? Like, I feel like now every time you think about farting or something, you're gonna think of me. And I can live with that. But like when you think about the fart, right? Like, it needs to be experienced. It needs to be let out. We've been holding on to this trauma. We've been holding on to this thing and we need to fucking let it go. It's high time, right? It's been long enough. It's time for us to tell ourselves new stories. It's time for us to make something else the new normal. It's time to get familiar with something else. So my suggestion to you is to literally look in the mirror every day and just say, you know, I love you. Katie, I love you. Literally, Katie, like hold yourself and just say, Katie, I fucking love you. You know, whatever your nickname was. My nickname when I was younger was Kiki, right? So I'll look in the mirror and I'd be like, Kiki, I love you. People always told you, you know, people always told me that I wasn't smart and I got called dumb a lot. I got called like a blonde a lot. And I would just tell myself like, you are so smart. Oh my God. And I will anchor in that I am smart. Remember that time you got an A in biology? Remember that time you were on the honor roll? And I will just anchor it in, right? And I fucking praise the shit out of myself now. And it is so important. And like, don't be one of those people who like, when someone is like praising you and you're like, they're like, oh my God, you did such a really good job on that speech. And you're like, yeah, but like I totally fumbled on my words. Or like I missed this point, right? Because you're so used to, you know, criticism, right? So it's about you getting comfortable being uncomfortable. And the best way for you to do that is for you to get comfortable with yourself. So praise yourself every single day. I look at myself in the mirror and I'm like, wow, look, that outfit you put together, girl, you look so good. You were so fashionable, whatever, right? I anchor that in. And especially when it's like a weight thing, right? Like anchor it fucking in right now for where you are. Know that like you are beautiful, that you are amazing in the skin that you're in, and that someone would be fucking fortunate to love you right now. Someone would be fortunate to have you in their life and to be able to call you a romantic partner. Even when it comes down to finances, right? Love and accept yourself for where you are right now. Be grateful for the house that you live in. Be grateful for the bills that you pay. Be grateful for the job that you have and all that stuff. And literally love and accept yourself exactly where you are. And then literally say like, I am no longer a vibrational match for this thing. I'm choosing to let this shit go. I'm choosing to see this differently. I'm willing to see this differently. And going forward, like, this is my new normal. My new normal is me having a fucking hot smoking body. So then now when you lose weight and now when you start eating healthy and things like that, it's from a place of love. It's from a place of you just loving yourself so much that you want to be healthy. You love yourself so much that you're not going to eat the steak. You're going to eat the salad. You're gonna eat the grilled chicken, right? You're gonna stop eating the red meat. You love yourself so much that you're gonna, you know, not people please. You're not gonna let people walk all over you. You're gonna create healthy boundaries. You love yourself so much that you're gonna, you know, stand up for yourself. That you're gonna go after the job, right? You're gonna share your gifts with the world. You're gonna be fucking fearless. You're gonna be unstoppable in the world. You're gonna go out there and be fucking amazing. So that's my spiel for the day. I'm gonna come back. If you guys post any questions or anything like that, I'm totally gonna come back and I'm gonna answer them. I can do another live tomorrow because I have scheduled that off. If need be, if you have any questions, just let me know. I'm here for you. I'm here to support you. I want you to fucking win. Yeah, I love you guys so much. And like, I became a mindset coach because I know what it's like to feel broken. I know what it's like to feel not good enough. I know what it's like to feel not smart enough, to not feel pretty enough, to feel like I'm gonna be abandoned, to feel like I'm gonna be alone, I know what it feels like to be that, you know, dented can of beans in the supermarket and feeling like people are constantly overlooking you. And I had to get to a place where I needed to love myself. I needed to love my dents. I needed to love my flaws. I needed to love my past. I needed to love my experiences. I needed to get comfortable being me. I needed to get comfortable knowing that my past experiences does not define who I am, does not define and decide how my future plays out. And from that place, I was just like, I fucking need to teach people this, right? I need to share my story. I need to be vulnerable. I need to be open. I need to help women specifically learn to love themselves. I need to help women specifically learn to accept where they are and fucking change it and decide that they don't have to live in struggle, that they don't have to be, you know, in scarcity. They don't have to be overweight. They don't have to be angry. They don't have to be bitter. That they can literally be rich as fuck, have the hottest body, that they can be healthy, that they can be happy, and they can fall madly in love with the next suitor that comes their way. So guys, if you need any more help with that, reach out to me. I have private coaching spots available. You can join my monthly membership tribe, Listen Up Universe, which is $47 a month. Or literally, you can just reply to any of my fucking posts all the time when I'm selling something. Again, guys, I love you so much. It's me, Lakeisha, your favorite mindset coach, aka your fairy godmother, and I want you to win. I want you to be super successful. Mwah. Take care.